I've been thinking a lot about whether or not I wanted to share this. It's been almost a year of asking myself this question, and I thought it would be kind of lame. I thought it would seem like I wanted views from it. I thought it would be disingenuous, but now I can see that it is really not, because my clear intention right now is to give people the opportunity to learn from my experience, to give people an insight into what it is that I'm about to discuss, because I think a lot of people yearn for something like this, and a lot of people yearn for what can come after an experience like this. They long for the personal transformation, they long for the beyond, they long for more meaning in their lives, and I think I'm ready to share this. I think it is enough of a benefit to other people that I can do this, and it will not be something that I do out of greed or, like I said, disingenuity. I want to spread love with this. So I'm just going to do it. Today I will talk about my ayahuasca experience of November 18th, 2020. I got interested in this by hearing people talk about it. The way people talked about it was magic to me. It was giving me so much energy, and it was giving me so much curiosity into what this was. I heard about massive personal transformations. I heard about an experience with the divine, with beings, higher intelligences. And I needed to explore that. I just couldn't keep this from myself. So I went Googling, I went looking for places to do this. I am in a country where it is forbidden, so I had to circumvent some things to get to that. I was not going to travel to Peru, obviously. It was the COVID, and that was not a possibility. So I found it closer to my home. And yeah, I had to undergo a diet for it, which was not too hard. I had to abstain from some things, which was also doable. And then I went. It was very special. From the moment I came in, I felt a really good energy. And we drank some tea first, not ayahuasca, but we drank some tea. We talked a bit. I got comfortable with the people and with the room. And it was one of those ceremony centers, and I think to start off, it is very important that you do it at a good setting. And I think the therapeutic setting is very good. Well, not therapeutic setting in the sense that it's going to be a doctor's office. It's obviously got to be a mystical setting, basically, lower lights and music as well. Music is such a fundamental part of this, so please do not do this at home. Do it with a professional, a shaman preferably. And yeah, do it in that setting. Set a set for yourself too. Set a setting, that's what they always say. Mindset, what do you want to achieve with this? Make sure that the attention is good. Make sure that you are not doing it because you are partying, and then you are ready to roll. So let's get into the experience itself. We enter the room, and it is a dark room. There's a bunch of beds there. There's buckets next to the beds for obvious reasons. And the music gets turned on. We all speak out our intentions. And they're basically just creating a very shamanistic setting, a very Amazon-like setting, mystical setting. And I think that's very important. I think this is what cultures have done all over the ages. You can really create, a ritual, and you can make it special and sacred, because meaning is what you make of it. And same as a football match or anything, you can create an atmosphere that is basically good for that particular situation. And I think that they did a good job. And I think if you're going to do it, you should do a similar setting, shamanistic, good intentions, good vibrations, and you should feel safe there too. That's so important. You shouldn't feel like you're not in the right place. So get comfortable with that. And then we went and laid down. We all had our own beds, like I said. And first you have to take a Maui inhibitor. This is a drink you have to take in order for the enzymes to be orally ingested and to be active. Very scientific. It basically means you need that in order for the ayahuasca to work. That was disgusting. They gave us a little mandarin after. to get away the taste, but it was really disgusting. And you know, a lot about this is really disgusting because people puke. You know, you have to take this. It's disgusting, but then it was worth it. So let's continue. I took that thing, and then they did the rounds of ayahuasca. We all took them in our own place. Get a Mandarin after. I would basically describe the taste as extremely bitter, maybe an ashtray. I don't know what an ashtray would taste like, but that's basically it. So I took one, then I went and laid down. They told us that there were no phones or anything allowed, no clocks, no time. But after about 40 minutes, they would ring the bell, and if you felt like you would need another, you could take another. So 40 minutes passed, I didn't feel anything, and I asked for another round. I got one. Then a bunch of people next to me and in other parts of the room started crying, and some were laughing, and they were gone, and I didn't feel anything. I was having major doubts. I was thinking that maybe this entire thing has been a scam and it's really just a bunch of BS. But then another 40 minutes passed and I asked for a third. I was probably the only one who took the third. And yeah, I started giving into it. I started letting go. And letting go is the most important part of this. You really have to turn off your left hemisphere. You really have to stop thinking logically about everything and just accept the experience for what it could be. And that's what I did. And then it started. What happened next is gonna sound ridiculous. It's gonna sound like I'm a dumb hippie. It's gonna sound like I'm a lunatic. And I know that because when I listen to other people talk about this, first I was a bit alienated from it. I was like, okay, what is this juju talk? I'm not interested, but you've come this far, so you might as well listen to what I have to say. I cannot explain this logically, but this is what happened. I close my eyes. I start seeing geometrical patterns. I start see they change, they develop, they're colors that I've never seen before. There's so many eyes looking at you. What that is, I do not know, but it was overwhelming, and it was not just the seeing. It was not just what I saw when I was tripping. It was an entirely multi-sensory experience, even beyond my senses, I think. Your feeling gets weird. I touched my hair, and it just felt so cool. At some point, I took a breath through my mouth. And the sensation of that was the most incredible thing I'd ever felt. But these are just irrelevant things compared to what I actually experienced. I can only explain this with the following words. It was as if love and comprehension were an entire dimension, and I was taking a bath in it, floating in it, just being overwhelmed by love and understanding. Those were the two main things, love and understanding. That's the words I'm going to put to it, love and understanding. It was incredible. I started crying and laughing, and I told myself, if you would have told me, you would never even have understood. If you would have told me, I couldn't have understood. It's incredible. It was what the ancients described as God. I'm convinced that every religion has had these experiences. You don't need the drugs for it. You can also do 40-day fasting, as the Bible says. But this was from another world. This was another dimension. I don't know what it is. That's why I sound like a cook. That's why I was afraid first to share this, but I have to. What this does to you, so you get the love and the understanding, you see all the geometrical patterns, and you start merging. That's what happened to me. You start merging with another intelligence. Whatever this was, I don't know. Is it inside of my brain? Is it an actual being? I think it's an actual being. I think it's a sort of parallel dimension. That's basically my understanding of it right now, but I can only speculate because it's just beyond our human capacity to understand. It's like, say you were a two-dimensional being. You could basically only see flat. You're a flatlander. I don't know if you've ever watched a video of the flatlander who then sees a three-dimensional being, and he can't understand it. He doesn't have words for it in his vocabulary because it's not in his world. That's what happened to me. It's just another dimension. I just don't understand it. I couldn't understand it. But what I got there was, I think it was a temporary peek behind the curtain, so to speak. And what that made me realize is that this life is but a fraction of the whole. And it's not to be taken that seriously, because at the end of the day, it's love and understanding. It's real. That's the realest part of this entire human experience. It's the connection you get with love, with understanding. And so I merged with these beings. I cannot explain this, but I saw the visual of me merging with it. And I got reborn. I really saw myself being born. And it's not in a human sense, but the beings guided me through this dimension, and they showed me the wonders of the world. And it was like I was a newborn baby, seeing it all for the first time, not comprehending anything, but just being in awe with the cosmos. And they showed me the patterns, they showed me the colors that are changing, and it was so complex. And I saw this ancient language developing in front of my eyes, and there was no words. I don't have words for it, man. It's impossible to describe, but I need to share it. It isn't, I don't believe it, but time wasn't a factor here. It was timeless. It was a timeless experience. Sometimes they talk about the flow state. In the flow state, time passes really quickly, but this was like the flow state on steroids. It was a whole different thing. It was pure bliss. Absolutely pure bliss. And it was realer than anything I've ever experienced on this earth. So much realer. And the love was just overwhelming. You know, sometimes you experience the glimpse of love. This was a bath of love. This was a whole world of love. This was what they described as God. That must be it. Now, at some point, I had to go to the bathroom. And that's when I realized I still was connected with my body. There was this small connection still. But I was shaky as hell. I went and walked through the room. I was guided by one of the people there. And I walked through the hall, and there was a mirror there, and I looked to the mirror. And I looked in the front, and then the hall just seemed like it was never ending. So I just kept walking. Felt like I was walking for hours. That's the timeless aspect of this. It was incredible. Not in a good way. It was very weird. It was very unsettling. It was anxiety provoking, I would say. To be between those two worlds, it's not very nice. I went to pee, and the control over my body was very weird, so I went and sat down. First I wanted to stand, but I realized quickly that was a no-go. And I went and sat down and started peeing, and the pee wouldn't stop. Just kept going. And again, it's timeless, so I can say it was hours, I can say it was minutes. I don't understand it, but it was so long, and it was just so weird. I went and sat down. I lied down, and I looked up, and I don't think you are supposed to open your eyes, but I did. And I looked at one of the guides, and he had these ears, elfish ears, and it seemed like he had this smile, like he was laughing inside of himself. But he wasn't, I think. But he was. There were weird, it was like a different filter on life almost. Weird elements. I don't know. Now, I think I started at 2 p.m., maybe 2:30, and by the time I was settling down, it was 7, maybe 7:30, so it's a very long trip, long journey, I should say. I think trip is not the right word for this, and I really wanted to get back. I could give into the situation again, I could give into the experience again, but I didn't want to. I felt like I was too attached to my body to really give into it again. And it was just too much information. I don't know if you've ever watched The Crystal Skull from Indiana Jones, but this guy gets all the information and he just dies. That's almost what I felt like. I felt like, okay, this is too much for me. I could never comprehend it. And it's no longer bliss. It's closer to anxiety now because I kind of want to get back. There is positive aspects to this body, and as long as I'm not dead yet, let's enjoy the ride for a little longer. So I started opening my eyes, and I really didn't want to lose control, and I kept focused on my breath as I learned, and I focused on the light that was in the room. And yeah, it took me a while to really get down to earth again, but that last half hour, I don't know how long it was very anxiety provoking. And that's why I cannot recommend this to everyone, because if you are prone to anxiety, which I am not, I took a personality test, I have 0 neuroticism. So if there's 100 people in the room, according to the test, I would be the least anxious person, at least neurotic person at least. So I think that says a lot, that even despite that, I was very anxious. That was very unsettling. But at the end of the day, was it worth the experience? 100%. But in a moment, it sucked. You know when you're sick, or when you're feeling very nauseous, or when you've drank too much, and you're just like, I'm never gonna do this again. That's what I felt like, basically. And that's not insignificant, so take that into account if you want to do this. Also, there's a good possibility you will puke, so also important. But eventually I got back into the living room, and I just didn't understand reality. I tried to talk, but I couldn't. Well, I could mutter some words, but they were not anything close to words, actually. I went and picked up an apple, and I just kept squeezing the apple to make sure it was real. My entire idea of reality just completely shifted, and I really needed a whole hour to just reintegrate into the world and re-understand it, basically. And then I started talking to some people, and, you know, I looked into the eyes of another guy who just came out of it, and I just started laughing, and he's laughing with me. And I said, did you see it? I saw it too. And then I said, what about that language thing, huh? And we were all like, yeah, this is so stupid. These languages are so limited. And then it was like, man, we finally understand these religions. They make so much sense now. The words make so much sense. Everyone just sharing this experience, and they all did in the past too. So it's a connection to the past as well. The experience and the integration of the experience has made me so much more loving, kind, and understanding. It has lowered my stress tremendously. I do not worry about anything anymore, while in the past I'd always have these worries where when I was very young, it would just be my insecurity, my nervousness, my fear of failing. Later on, it would be my stress about success. I really wanted to be financially successful, especially, and it's kind of irrelevant to me now. Yes, I work to be successful, but there's so many things that you cannot control. I try to control attitude and effort, and have a good technique about things, be smart about what I do, but at some point you gotta let some things go because they're beyond your power. So, yeah, low stress, high love, lots of connections with people. I easily talk to people now. I connect with them. I'm very open. I see life as the opportunity it really is. That's what I see life as. It's incredible what we can do on earth. Try to be as healthy and happy as I can be. Try to not hurt too many people in the process of doing so. And yeah, also just another reminder that this life is just a fraction of the whole, and I cannot explain that, but it's made me such a good person. I'm not going to say that I'm a perfect person, but it's made me such a better person than before, I should say. I think that's the correct way of going about things. And if you want to learn more about me personally, you're free to do so. I've made a bunch of videos about myself. I'm such an egomaniac, yes. But the ego death will show you that this identity it's bullshit. It's irrelevant. And this experience has been incredible. I plan on doing another at the end of the year. This time I will share it with someone else. If I'm gonna share that experience, you will hear from me. But if I'm not gonna, then I'm not gonna. I'll find out. Life is a journey. I'm curious about things. It has also just activated my learning too. Just a last little tidbit. I know it's a long video. It has really made me interested in learning more about this world. It has caused me to study Egyptology, which for me is incredible because it also connects with this, because I think the Egyptians had the same types of experiences. That's what I'm hunting for right now, doing that bachelor course. I think it's probably my favorite thing I've ever done. My time occupation now is just that. I'm working out and connecting with people, and my life is better than it has ever been. So I'm super happy. My happiness is through the roof. I'm not perfect. I'm not always happy. It's impossible to be. But I've come at peace with things thanks to this experience, and I'll be back. And when I die, I'll be back too. I'm convinced of that. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Please subscribe to my channel. If you like this stuff, I really don't know if people like this stuff. I think a lot of people don't, but some people do. There's a market for everything, I guess. Enough, Lucas. You're done. I'm done. Have a good day.